Welcome back to Movies Outpost. Today we will be diving into an action thriller movie titled Safe House. Enjoy the recap. The movie kicks off in Cape Town, South Africa, with a dude named Matt Weston. He's not just any dude, he's a CIA safe housekeeper, meaning he's in charge of keeping the lights on and the doors locked at a secret CIA spot. He's got a partner named Anna, but he's keeping her in the dark about his real job, telling her he's just a regular Joe working at a clinic. Weston's feeling pretty pent up in his safe house gig. After a year on the job, he rings up his boss, a guy named David, to vent out his frustrations. He's chomping at the bit to prove himself, to get out in the field. But David's like, "Chill, Matt, you gotta wait another 4 months, you're not ready yet." But Weston's eager, right? So he implores David to vouch for him to help him get a posting in Paris. Why Paris, you ask? Well, that's where Anna is planning to move, and he wants to be there with her. David agrees to put in a good word for him, but he doesn't promise anything. Switching scenes now, we meet Tobin Frost, a former CIA hotshot who's crossed over to the dark side. He's off for a catch-up with his buddy Alec, an MI6 officer. Alec hands Frost a tiny device full of top-secret dirt on some top officials. Alec warns him this info could attract some heavy heat, so he better be ready. Unfazed, Frost hides the device in the safest place he can think of, his own body. Right on cue, a gang of mercenaries swoops in. But Frost's no easy mark, he fights them off. On his way out, he swaps his suit with a random man, and when he is outside, a sniper takes the shot only to figure out it was a decoy. Then it's pedal to the metal as Frost and Alec try to outrun the mercs. But these guys aren't quitters. They take out Alec, and the car flies onto oncoming traffic. But Frost slips through their fingers. He runs through a protest and takes off. But the mercenaries manage to find and corner him, forcing him to head inside the US consulate to dodge the heat. Upon entering, he announces his name as Rogue Agent Tobin Frost. The CIA gets wind of this quite quickly, led by a guy named Whitford, who puts the consulate on full lockdown. Turns out Frost has been playing dirty, selling intel to the enemy, and is wanted for espionage on not 1 but 4 continents. So the CIA rounds up a team and plans to grill Frost at a safe house over in Johannesburg. Back to our guy Matt Weston, the safe housekeeper. His phone rings, and it's the agency. They've got a reservation for him. A high-priority target is incoming, and they're planning an interrogation that night. Weston's gotta get everything ready, so Weston rings up his partner and cancels their plans, spinning some BS about his clinic job. As night falls, a team led by a guy named Daniel Kiefer shows up at the safe house, bringing in Tobin Frost. They're there to pry open Frost's secrets and get the lowdown on what he knows. Despite a heavy round of interrogation, Frost keeps his lips sealed. But then out of nowhere, those persistent mercenaries crash the party at the safe house. Bullets start flying in a face-off between Daniel's crew and the mercs. As both teams' men start falling one by one, the mercenaries gain the upper hand and completely finish off Daniel's team by eliminating their commander. This leaves Weston as the last man standing. With his back against the wall, Weston makes a daring decision. He's gotta keep his house guests safe, even if it is Tobin Frost. So he slaps some cuffs on Frost and bundles him into the trunk of a car. And just like that, we're in the middle of a high-stakes car chase between Weston and the mercenaries. While evading bullets and bad guys, Weston manages to call the agency. He spills the beans about the safe house breach and his great escape with Frost. They cannot believe what is going on, and they order him not to take Frost to the consulate and keep a close eye on him. We then learn the deadly secret that Weston has watched all 10 Fast and Furious movies, and so with great ease he loses his assailants. Frost, though, manages to break free from the car trunk, leading to a tussle between him and Weston. This results in a crash, but Weston, ever the survivor, drags himself out of the wreckage and holds a gun on Frost. Back at CIA HQ, Whitford's calling the shots. He orders a tactical team to jet off to South Africa to retrieve Weston and Frost. But David throws a wrench in the works, saying it's going to be a whopping 18 hours before the team touches down. For now, Weston's their only man on the ground. Meanwhile, as Weston's steering Frost to a new hideout, Frost starts chatting. He reveals his ex-CIA status and plays mind games with Weston, getting him to question his loyalty and his bosses. He drops a bombshell, suggesting the safe house breach was an inside job. After all, it was supposed to be secure. Frost warns Weston that the agency isn't to be trusted, that they'll leave him high and dry when things get tough. Back at the CIA, the plot thickens. Whitford suspects a mole in their ranks. He wants all the dirt, background info, affiliations, everything on any agent tied to Frost's case. Now, as Weston and Frost touch down at a hotel, Weston dials up his girl Anna. He's back with another excuse, this time saying their apartment's about to be under surveillance and she needs to make herself scarce. Meanwhile, Frost, with his trained spy ears, is eavesdropping. Once Weston's off the phone, Frost plays relationship guru, telling him that lies and secrets are no foundation for love. He warns Weston that the truth always comes out in the end, and it'll only lead to heartbreak. Weston's having none of it though. He fires back, saying he's not Frost and his story won't have a tragic ending like him. So during a call with David, Weston learns that he's on his own for another 12 hours. A new safe house is ready for him, but it's not in the country. Weston's mission: head to a stadium and retrieve a GPS device from a go bag, which will lead him to the new hideout. Weston takes Frost along to the stadium, but just as he's got the GPS device in his hands, Frost flips the script. He makes a scene, yelling that Weston's there to kidnap him. This draws the attention of the local cops, who detain Weston. He tries to explain that Frost's a big-time criminal and he's on a CIA mission to nab him, but they don't buy it. So Weston goes on the offensive, manages to break free from the police, and dashes off in pursuit of Frost. But just as he thinks he's got Frost cornered, a security guard stops him. In the ensuing standoff, Weston shoots a guard, then goes after Frost, only to walk right into an ambush. Frost gets the drop on him but then spares his life, claiming he only kills pros. Now a wanted man, Weston heads to a phone booth and rings the agency, informing them he lost Frost during the stadium fiasco. Whitford tells him to stand down. The agency's taking over from here. Weston's world is spiraling. Feeling cornered, he heads to a train station to meet Anna, who's on her way to Paris. He comes clean about his job and confesses he's a CIA agent, not the clinic worker he claimed to be. Anna's furious, feeling betrayed by his web of lies. Weston pleads with her to leave the country, confessing his fear for her. Once she's safely on her way, he heads to a local internet cafe, intent on tracking down Frost using the CIA database. But the CIA's watching. They catch wind of Weston's online snooping. Whitford orders David and Linklater to head to South Africa and capture Frost. In the meantime, Frost pays a visit to his old pal Carlos in Langa. The pleasantries are brief, as they quickly dive into the juicy stuff on the drive. Top secret info the agency's been keeping under wraps. Carlos, a pro at document forgery, sets Frost up with a new passport and papers. He advises Frost to ditch the dangerous spy life, but Frost just shrugs it off. He assures Carlos he's got everything under control. But, as if on cue, those pesky mercenaries barge into Carlos's home. Weston's just found Frost's location when the chaos unfolds. Carlos's family becomes collateral damage, and Carlos himself is next. Frost makes a daring rooftop escape, but the gunmen are hot on his trail. And in swoops Weston, unexpectedly playing the hero. He uses a truck to help Frost escape, but the mercenaries aren't far behind. They damage the escape vehicle, leaving Frost and Weston on foot. It's an unexpected alliance in the face of danger. The two unlikely allies hole up in a building, managing to ambush one of the pursuing gunmen. But it's not without cost. Frost takes a bullet. Weston, pumped with adrenaline, grills the mercenary. The merc gets chatty, revealing they're on the payroll of a dude named Vargas, who's in cahoots with the CIA. Their mission: snatch a device from Frost. While all this is unfolding, David and Linklater touch down in South Africa, splitting up to cover more ground in their search for Frost. Weston, meanwhile, takes Frost to a local drugstore to patch him up. As he's dressing the wound, Frost imparts some seasoned advice: never kill the innocent. He shares his haunting tale of having to take down an air traffic warden. Meanwhile, Linklater's suspicion is piqued. She tells David he suspects Weston's helping Frost, but David doesn't buy it. He stands up for Weston, believing that if he were with Frost, he'd bring him to the safe house. So David and Linklater agree to rendezvous at the old safe house. Weston, hearing the call, takes Frost to their new hiding place. On arrival, he holds the housekeeper, Keller, at gunpoint, instructing him to call the agency and report Frost's presence. Meanwhile, Linklater and David meet up, and things take a dark turn. Linklater spills the beans about Frost's top-secret file holding dirt on various agencies. When David realizes she's privy to the micro-device, he pulls the trigger on her without a second thought. Back at the safe house, Weston and Keller are engrossed in a deep conversation about their housekeeping duties when Keller suddenly flips. The two grapple fiercely, with Keller landing a stab on Weston. But Weston's not going down easy. He gains the upper hand, overpowering Keller and ending him. Bleeding and weakened, Weston crawls over to Frost, pressing him about what's in that file. Frost admits that it's loaded with intel on some seriously corrupt agencies. With this revelation, Weston decides to unlock Frost's handcuffs. But instead of gratitude, Frost leaves Weston to bleed out and makes his exit from the safe house, leaving Weston to pass out. Weston's eyes flutter open to find none other than David Barlow by his side. The puzzle pieces click into place for Weston. David is in cahoots with Vargas. David spills the beans. The file holds damning secrets about top officials, and he's hell-bent on preventing it from seeing the light of day. He instructs Weston to spin a false tale about everything that's transpired, promising him safety. But out of nowhere, Frost bursts back onto the scene, taking out all of Vargas' men. However, he isn't quick enough to dodge a bullet from David. Weston, still hanging on, snatches up his gun and takes out David. With his last ounces of strength, he crawls to the injured Frost. Frost, with his dying breath, hands over the drive to Weston. He implores him to be a better man, to do the right thing. With those final words, Frost slips away, leaving Weston reeling from the events. The scene flips back to the CIA headquarters. Weston's there to report the events in South Africa to Whitford, but Whitford, wanting to avoid any agency scandals, insists that Weston should lie about what went down. Whitford probes Weston, asking him about the existence of any file handed over by Frost, but Weston plays it cool, denying all knowledge of it. Whitford warns him of the dangers that possessing such a file would bring, but Weston, a man on a mission, isn't swayed and holds onto the file. Leaving the agency's hallowed halls behind, Weston decides it's time for the world to know the truth. He makes the controversial decision to upload the file for the public eye, exposing corruption amongst various intelligence personnel, including his own superiors at the CIA. The cat is officially out of the bag. Weston then makes a trip to Paris, where he spots Anna. He watches her from a distance, a smile of contentment crossing his face, knowing she's safe and well. What an emotional roller coaster ride this has been, folks, and that's a wrap. If you enjoy such gripping stories, make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.